Hi, this is Vince Weston, and this is my update on the Tom Daniels 2016 group build, tribute build, sponsored by Chris Cortell of Classic Plastic 101 and Dirk Pitt of Dirk Pitt. There's one thing I want to do first, which is a tangent or slight aside, or completely off topic. I want to say happy holidays to everybody. Well, here's my start of my holiday season. The infamous mini lights. These are the ones I've replaced so far. And that started about Thanksgiving. But enough about that. I'm sure there's several people can empathize. Excuse the arm. Anyway, as I had mentioned in my intro, I had lost, one of the headlights, and I didn't know it was going to be such a tough thing to get a replacement from Revell. The issue, of course, was that the Street Fighter 2, which is the car I'm building, is out of production. So when I was told that my parts request was denied because the parts are no longer available. I believe this kit is from 90s, and I don't think they've re-released it since. So I contacted their customer service through email after it was denied and said, gee, what do you think I could do? And they said, the guy said, really nice guy from Revell, said, well, what about the Street Fighter? So he's like, just look up the instruction sheet and get the part number from that. And it's so I did that, but unfortunately couldn't find the instruction sheet. So I guessed, and I sent in my order. And we'll hold that up. Maybe it'll be visible. Anyway, saying, oh, it's 4262 Street Fighter Part 50, which is where I made my mistake. Headlight lens 2, because I wanted to make sure I had a matched set in case it was different than that. I didn't want to have mismatched headlights. Well, I got the part, as you can tell by the order form that was sent to me, but unfortunately part 50 is the grill, not the lens covers. But what this did show me was, if you look right here, which is where the headlight lens would go, these are oblong, and in the Street Fighter 2 it's a single circular one. So these wouldn't have worked. Making a long story even longer, I said, well, if the guy suggested using another kit that they have, I went through the instruction sheets and found 3 other kits that I thought might be close. The 53 panel is kind of a real stretch, but they are circular. They're probably a little larger. Then we got a 62 and a 60 and a 62 and PAL SS hardtops, and I put them all in as one parts order. Well, that caused them to go, hey, wait a minute, and they put my order on hold and said, send us the UPC codes for those kits, and then surely we'll give them to you. So I wrote back to customer service again and said, listen, this is what I did, and this is not, what I intended. So, this is what I was looking for. And it was the same guy I talked to the first time, and I explained to him that the Street Fighter headlights would not work because they're oblongs as opposed to rounds, which is what I need. So through our email conversations over 2 days, I finally said, well, how about we just cancel that on hold one and then I'll just put in an order for the 1960 Chevy rounds and hope that they work, because the Street Fighter and the Street Fighter 2, I believe, are customized 1960 Chevys. Of course, they're panels as opposed to the two doors, but that's where we're at. The one good thing, I guess, was they sent me this, which I don't know how well that shows, but it's a little jukebox that says 1957 to 2007 Chevy 50V. So, oh boy. Enough said on that subject. Hopefully, in the next 2 weeks, I'll get those headlight lenses and we'll be flying along. In the interim, I have been working on the kit, because headlight lenses are pretty much the last part, so we're not going to sweat that terribly much. I'm kind of sticking with the color suggestions. The reason I bring up the color suggestions is I have completed the engine. They do suggest yellow. I went with a slightly lighter color, which is what I used on my surfboard on my 57 Go-Mad. And I kind of like it. It's a little different. And I think when it's sitting in the car with the hood up, it'll show off a little bit better. So, that's the engine. The other thing I did, I'm going to work from small parts to large, so this is not in chronological order, was I dry brushed the lettering on the wheels, because it does say Goodyear Rally GTs. So I finally was able to dry brush that on enough. They're really low, so it's kind of was a little difficult, but I got it close enough. It looks alright. The next part is what I did was took the wheels, and hopefully this will show, and I used Tamiya Smoke on the wheels, and it darkens them up pretty nicely. So that's done also on all four wheels. The headers I have done silver, and then I clear coated them with Future PFM Pledge for floors, or whatever it is now called. And then I started painting other parts in the color I kind of was intending for the body after I changed my mind for the second or third time, which is primary red. And you'll notice on these the springs are actually black. And I did that with a Sharpie. I got the idea from Terry Blackerly, who's a local, and he'd done, I think, almost his entire Tom Daniel build using a Sharpie. So I thought that was a pretty good idea, and it worked out really well. Oops, still can't see it that well, but you can tell that the springs are black and the shocks are red. This is one of the rear shocks. Maybe it'll show a little better. I don't know. It's smaller, but maybe not. But so that's those parts. I also used charcoal gray. These are all, of course, craft acrylics, and did the underpieces, which were supposed to be, or are supposed to be, I got a touch up there, okay, supposed to be flat black, but I think the charcoal looks a little bit more scale. It's a little lighter, so it works out better. Originally, I was kind of really against a red, because I don't know, red's just too bright to me. So I picked up this Americana dark scarlet multi-surface, and you can see it's a red, but it's on the really dark side. I kind of like the color. I'm still debating. Then I thought about it and I went, well, you know, I looked at Captain America's gloves and went, you know, I really like that red, which was the primary red. Slightly darker color, but still red. So I'm debating between those two. One other thing, since I've got this out, I've been mixing in the Delta Creative varnishes into most of my colors. It seems to help make them harder. The other thing you'll notice, like on this piece, maybe it'll be visible as I drop things. It took the flat and it has made it a little brighter, a little bit more glossy. I probably are going to hit that with Future, but I'm hoping it toughens up the paint some. And I also did the headrests. You can't see that from everything, and that's in there. As the box art shows, with the black centers and the red outsides. In the instructions of this kit, they basically say that the interior should be black. But if you look at the box art, the interior actually is red, with a black insert into it. So that's the direction I'm going to head, because I kind of like that better. It looks a little sharper. The next thing is I decided to do a couple of body mods, which are really not body mods, but I've opened up the vents in the front, and also, hopefully this will show too, the two on the side that are actually there. So I've opened those up. One of the things I went against the instructions on, and I'm glad I did, was I've attached the fascia, the bottom fascia, to the front, and also the rear back here. This bottom section, of course, the fascia, the bottom fascia. And I'm glad I did, because the part didn't exactly fit. And if I had painted this all and then found out this was indented and I had to fix it all, I would have been kind of ticked. But now that I've got them together, the only difficulty I'll have is for the raised, the front drop hood. I have to reach inside here, which is not going to show that way. You can see those little pins that I'll have to get the mounting point on for those. The last thing is I was working with the chassis and frame, and I noticed that this looks a little bare and barren, and you'll see the pencil marks there. And I said, you know, gee, that there's really nothing down here. There's no detail. It needs something. And it dawned on me that something I'd like to add is a gas tank. So I kind of went searching around in my junk, and I found this 1970 Camaro frame that had, I mean, this is from when I was a kid. I had screwed this one up really nice using some really tough paints that melted a lot of it. But it had a gas tank. Now, of course, the gas tank was a little too wide. So I removed, after stripping the paint, I removed about a 1/4 inch section. And this is what I've come up with. Fitted sides to it to square it off inside the flat frame. Also added a piece of evergreen in here that was as wide and sanded it down to make the center fall, roll in it. So I'll have to paint that up yet, but that was my scratch build to that. And I've put some hangers, quartz hangers on there for the gas tank, and roughly it should sit about like that. Hopefully that all shows. Okay, so that's where I'm at the moment. I'm still debating the two colors, which one I'm going to use for the body. I'm kind of at the point where I'm thinking I'll paint the interior the primary red, because it'll be brighter, and then the exterior I'll do in the dark scarlet, which should give it a more tough look, maybe. Of course, I can always strip it again, I guess, if I really don't like it. Start all over. So, as you can tell, the major body parts are not done. Most of the smaller parts are done. I just gotta, after I finally got most of this cleaned up, there were a lot of sink marks, a lot of ejector pin marks, and, well, the sink marks were really small. There were a lot of ejector pin marks, which I worked through, and the misalignment of a couple of pieces. So I got most of it done, and this is running really long. I mean, I know a lot of you guys have already finished your Tom Daniels build, and as you can tell, I'm probably, I don't know, about a third of the way into it, maybe a little bit further. I've made some pretty decent progress in 2 weeks, or 3, whatever it is, since the beginning of the month. And it's now the end of November. So, of course, this is an endless group build, so that's makes that a lot easier. That's what I got, and I'm sticking to it. Alright, so thanks for watching, and we'll talk at you later. Bye-bye.